Hi, Merle Gilley here. I want to warn you up front, this video is going to be shocking and may be a real eye-opener for you. It will shed light on how liberal big government politicians have created a massive problem and put America's future into harm's way. Let's start with a website that you need to become familiar with, www.usdebtclock.org. The numbers change so rapidly it's impossible to do a live video and record it because it increases exponentially by the second. The screenshot you're looking at now was taken in August of 2015, and you can see that we are quickly approaching $18.5 trillion of U.S. debt. Let me say that again, $18.5 trillion of U.S. debt. Depending on when you're watching this video, it's going to be much higher. $1 trillion is impossible to visualize, and it's probably much bigger than you realize. So I'm going to take a minute and show you how massive $1 trillion really is, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why a large portion of your retirement dollars needs to be in a tax-free environment and out of the reach of the IRS. Why, you ask? Because most Americans have almost all of their retirement savings in an account that are taxed when you spend the money in retirement. I'm talking about accounts like IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, and the like. And the primary thing that all of these accounts have in common is that you pay your taxes when you take the money out. So the questions Americans should be asking is, how much tax or what tax rate will I have to pay when I take the money out? Well, here's the bad news. The answer is largely based upon how much money the government will need in tax revenue when you get ready to retire. Now back to what $1 trillion in debt looks like. We will talk more about future tax rates in a moment. Let's start with a plain U.S. $100 bill. A pack of $100 bills less than a half-inch thick contain $10,000. If you're not paying attention, you could trip on $1 million. $100 million looks like this. $1 billion is 10 of these small pallets of $100 bills. Now, let's see how much real estate $1 trillion would take up. We're starting to get an idea of just how much money we're shelling out every single year for just the interest on the U.S. debt. Did you know that if you took 1 trillion $1 bills and you laid them end to end, it would measure approximately 97 million miles. This is a greater distance than the distance from the Earth to the Sun. Now consider this. 1 million seconds is 12 days. 1 billion seconds is over 31 years. But 1 trillion seconds is over 30,000 years. Now to really put this into perspective so that you can see how big our national debt really is, if you stack $18.5 trillion of U.S. debt on top of these pallets, it would be taller than the Trade Center, which is the tallest building in America at 1,700 feet. $18.5 trillion stacked up would be a staggering 2,579 feet. That is unbelievable, I know. What's even more shocking is that according to David Walker, who served as the Comptroller General of the United States and as head of the General Accountability Office from 1998 to 2008, he said that based on our current fiscal path, future tax rates will have to double just to cover the interest on our debt. Just the interest. No debt reduction, no government employee pensions, no entitlement plans, just to cover the interest payment only. And it's all because of this tower of debt. That's a problem, and exactly why you must protect yourself. But what if they made a decision to spread the debt throughout every man, woman, and child in America? 320 million people. We each would owe over $56,000. Is that reality? I don't know the answer to that question, but what I do know is that with my family financial miracle, my money is growing in a tax-favored environment that is not subject to taxation when it's time for my wife and I to retire. For me, that looks like I get to go fishing every day I want to. What's your ideal retirement look like? Are you willing to have all your money in financial vehicles where the government makes all the rules and could easily step in and double taxation and wipe out half of your spendable retirement income with a single stroke of a pen? Now let's stop and think about your answer to that question. It's a simple question, but let me ask you in a different way. In the future, do you think the government will need more or less tax revenue than they do today? Your answer should dictate your decision. If you think the government will need less tax revenue in the future, then you would want to postpone paying taxes until a time when the tax rates should be lower. But if you believe, like I do, that the government will always need more tax revenue in the future, then you might consider paying your taxes today so that you don't have to worry about a potential higher tax rate in the future. Now, the only objection that I ever hear from folks about future taxes is that some believe that they will be in a lower tax bracket when they retire because they'll need less money to live on. While that may be true for a small few, I haven't found that to be my experience or the experience of most of my retired friends and family. In fact, most of my retired friends and family complain more about taxation today than they ever have. And I think it's because of two specific reasons. Number one, most folks don't really reduce their lifestyle in retirement. In fact, many of them increase their lifestyle because when you're retired, every day is a holiday. You have more free time, so you tend to spend more money because you're not at work every day. Think about it. Do most people spend more money on Saturday and Sunday than they do on Monday through Friday? Of course. And to retired people, the weekend never stops. Number two, when you retire, you have likely lost all of your major tax deductions. Think about it. What are the 4 major tax deductions that most people take advantage of? Number one, your mortgage interest deduction is the main one. How many retired folks do you know that still owe a big mortgage? Almost none, or at least not on purpose. Number two, most working folks are making tax-deductible deposits to their 401ks or IRA retirement accounts. Once they retire, they stop saving because now they want to spend their retirement money. So the retirement contribution deductions go away. Number three, child tax exemptions or child tax credits. When our children are at home, we get to take a nice tax deduction. But when we retire, Lord willing, the kids are long gone, and if they're gone, they take their tax exemption with them. Number four, and finally, our charitable giving. When I worked, I would always give a certain percentage to my church and some of our local charities. But as a retired person, I've got more time on my hands. So I most likely am going to actively volunteer at my church or at the hospital or whatever charity I like. So to conclude the thought process, government spending is likely to cause tax rates to be higher in the future. If you don't want to be caught having to pay higher, maybe even way higher tax rates in the future, then you may need to think about doing a few things differently. The good news is this: there is hope and a way for you to protect you and your family, and I'll reveal that information in the book. So keep reading the book, and I'll see you on the next video.